As a chaplain in hospice, what has your experience been, really?
As a hospice chaplain.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a very rewarding role to play. I think most people who are in the use the gift of caring for people are very spiritual people, and so the thing I get to be involved in is helping our spiritual people take care of spiritual people at a spiritual time. When we are faced with the reality, or really it's always a reality, but we acknowledge the fact that we're not always going to be in this world. We're all going to make a journey at some time when our heart stops beating and our lungs stop breathing. We ask ourselves, what is the meaning of life and what is possibly in my future? So I get to walk with patients and families down that road. The goal that I have as their hospice chaplain is that they first not be afraid to make the journey. And the second is that they be at peace. And the third is that they find meaning and purpose in each day that they're given. And I would have to say, in 23 years of doing this, very few patients have died afraid, and most of them have died at peace. And most of them and their families have said, these have been wonderful days. This gift of time between the time I'm diagnosed, the time that I take my last breath, have been rich, full years. My patients live very intentional lives. Every day is full of meaning and purpose because they are paying attention not only to the relationships they're given in this world, but the mystery of life and the mystery of death.
Go back to Cindy. Any final comments that you would like to make, Cindy?
Well, I think that, as a cancer patient myself, and also being surrounded by a lot of friends who deal with life-threatening disease, I feel like we have a little bit of change of attitude about all of this. You certainly don't take things for granted as much, and you try to live each day fully. But I also think that I personally have less fear of death as a result of my cancer diagnosis. It's certainly not a pleasant thing to have to deal with the treatments and the doctor visits and all the things that you go through. However, knowing that, that you're still here, you're still alive, you can still live fully, and then by not living in fear and not fearing death anymore, you can even live that even more. And, if that makes any sense, I feel like, I live life more fully because I am aware of, that fragility of life. And so I really want to embrace it even more.
I've heard it said that we should all come down with cancer and then be cured once a year to remind us to remind us of our mortality and to the preciousness of every moment and the friends and spiritual fellows that are around us and surround us.
And I had enrolled a little gentleman. We had a pretty good conversation in our first visit, but doggone it, I forgot to get one form signed. So I had to go to his door the next morning. I knocked on his door, and as soon as I knocked on the door, he says, "Come in here, Chaplain, I want to show you something." I said, "Yes, sir." So he walked me back to his bedroom. He pointed to a clock that was up on his dresser. He said, "Chaplain, you see that clock? It was one of those old ones that had the flip dials that flipped the time minute by minute." He said, "Chaplain, many nights I'll lay awake and I'll look at that clock. 11:58. 11:59, 12 o'clock, I got another one. That's the way I live, Chaplain." It's a pretty good way to not only die, but it's a pretty good way to live, to celebrate the gift of every sunrise and take advantage of all that it can give us.